Disclaimer: this is part one of this episode. Make sure to check out episode two. Yeah, thank you. So, hello. I am Mystic Orange. I'm listening into Talking in the Shadows. This is video 195. Yeah. So in this video, it's going to be a little bit different today. Um, I'm doing something a lot different for this video. Something that I just wanted to do. It's not my usual stuff. I want to do something creative and fun with you guys. Um, so crossovers, right? You when you know when you share one media and another media together. Um, I did. I had have an idea for what a Winx Club and a Ruby rewrite. I mean crossover would look like. This is just my idea. It's just fun and all that. So that's the whole point for this video. Just sharing my ideas. I don't care how long this video takes. I just want to share it because I think it's really fun. And I just wanted to have a go and like share my thoughts. Like, if Winx Club and Ruby were in the same universe, what would they look like? You can share your ideas as well. Like, if Winx Club and Ruby had was like in the same universe, what do you think it would look like? Or if you want to, like, if you want to share like other crossover ideas, like what if Winx Club was with another show, or Ruby was with another show, and what would it look like? You can have fun sharing it in the comment section. This is all like just for the creative minds, just bustling in, and yeah, um, that's the purpose for this video. Yeah. Um, so let me know what you think. Um, I'm excited to share it with you guys. Like what my idea would be for like a Winx Club and Ruby crossover. So here we go. The first thing I want to think about when like a Winx Club and Ruby crossover is the world building. Like how the Winx Club universes are like, and how Ruby universe is like. Um, um, First, I want to talk about the Winx Club world. Um, I'm glad. I think I really love the Winx Club universe because you can get creative with it. Like anything would work for a Winx Club. I think the fact that there's like so many planets that has different themes and whatnot. Like there's Earth, like for humans that we can just reside in. But there's other worlds like Domino, Magics, um, what else? Solaria, Zenith, Melody. Like I think Winx Club has helps um helps with the imagination of like whatever planet you have, it will work. Like so, I think I can see how like uh, um a Ruby universe will work with a Winx Club universe. Because when you look at Ruby, you have Remnant as a planet. How I think this could work is that Remnant could be like, um, it could be Earth, like, but it also could be a different planet, like it could be an additional planet in Winx Club universe. So like you know how like let's say um Magix is a planet from you know is a planet in the dimension. Um, I can see how like a remnant could be its own planet, but I can go further on like looking into Ruby. The fact that there are like kingdoms and they could be its own planet. So yeah, I truly think um a, a remnant could work as a planet for Winx universe, but the kingdom could be its own planet, like So I can see where it could work. So what I think for like, if Remnant is gonna be a planet for Ruby, for like, if Ruby and Whistle were gonna share a universe, Remnant would be a planet in Magic Universe, in Winx Globe. So I think that would work. But also I think each kingdom could be its own planet. It doesn't have to be Remnant. Actually, you know what? Remnant could be its own thing. Like how how it used to be in the like original. The history of Remnant. Um, but now each kingdom will be its own planet. Like I think I'm gonna go by order of each kingdom and how they could be its own planet. First of all, we have Vale, which is like the most foresty type of the kingdoms. So if it was a planet, I can imagine it being similar to like um Al like Magic's because the main that's what like the main characters have this like education like Beacon Academy. It's kind of like Althea, and that's how I imagine like Vale would be, but also it could be similar to like Lymphia, like um, maybe the theme for Vale would be all the foresty type um, characters. Maybe they respect nature a bit more, but education as well. And maybe this is how they like train to fight. And we do see in Wings Club that there are like um what we say there are skills in other like realms like we seen in season 6 there are colleges in like Lymphia, there's one in um Melody, and I think there's one in like Island Terranog. It's yeah, they mentioned it in season 6, but I think Chimera also mentions something like in season 3 that she goes to a beta school, and I think it's based on Solaria because I don't think it's based on magics. So I think Chimera like she studies in Solaria, and I think someone like Nova, I think she kind of mentions like, oh, she studies at Althea now, but before she probably studied at like Solaria to So it's possible that there are schools in other planets. We just see Althea the most because that's where the Winx hang out. So yeah, so I think Vale will be that specific kind of planet, where we see the RWBY characters, you know, have their education. So yeah, so that's Vale as a planet. Now, if Minstrel was a planet, I can imagine it having like Asian influence, um, I can see it being compared to other planets in like Winx Club, you know, um, that have Asian influence. Cause like Minstrel does have like Asian like architecture. In Winx Club, there are planets that do have like Asian influence. Like Melody, for example, has a lot of East Asian like buildings and architecture. There's also a planet called Wisp, that like uh, that Valtor invades in like season 3. It's called Espero, um, which also has a lot of like East Asian like um, you know scenery. Yeah, and there's also a planet called Oppositus that also have like Asian influence. Because I think it's like based on the Chinese philosophy of Taoism, like when things are opposites. I, I think, um, and I think Minstrel, it has a lot of like these architecture, like Ren is from there, and he kind of has like Chinese coded, because he is based on Mulan, and his family kind of has like Asian influence as well. So I can see Minstrel being like um, an Asian inspired planet. Um, so I can see that for that. So Minstrel will be like a planet themed with Asian ideas. I think Atlas would be very interesting as a planet. Um, I think it would be compared to like Zenith, because it's a very futuristic, place. So like if Atlas was a universe, I think Mantle would be also its own, planet. But I think maybe Mantle and Atlas would have like be its own planet, would have like connection with each other. Maybe there was a war, like if it was in like a Winx Club universe. Um, I can see that happening. I think Mantle would be the opposite of Atlas. Like Atlas would be all its futurism and get that will be like capitalism. Um, you know, with ecstasy. Mantle will be like the poorer one, the one that underdeveloped, the one that hasn't been thought of. So I think Mantle will, if it was a planet, I can see it being like very rebellious. Um, I can imagine like if you're from Mantle, you would have like animosity towards the Atlas people. So yeah, I can see like a war between these guys, if they were, you know, because I think there are ideas in Winslow that some planets are at war with each other. Like I think there was a point where like you know Domino and thingy Heraklion was at war or something. Um, I can imagine like it happening in this sort of thing, and also again with Atlas being like with all the technology, I can see it like being compared to like Zenith or Magix, but or any planet that that has like futurism towards it. It's not as advanced as Zenith, but I think Atlas could be compared. And I think Atlas is also a very cold planet. Like there's a lot of snow that's happening, so yeah, I can see that. I think there are planets that are like cold, like um, Ome- the Omega dimension that's also like full of snow, and I think I see like in her like backstory, like season 8, I think it's Diamond, and it's kind of like snowy. So I do believe that there are planets that are like that's like polar, like and why shouldn't it? I think Magic Universe is like very like anything could happen. So like um the fact that there are planets that are like based on like snow, I think it would work. So I can imagine like Atlas being a planet, and it will work. So it's like has the technology but also the snowy stuff. So Atlas I can see as a planet, and I can see Mantle as a planet. So yeah. Now I'm on to Vacuo. We for As I don't think we've seen Vacuo yet. I think that's the next, you know, kingdom is about to see. But at the same time, I think Winx Club we haven't yet to discover like a desert-based planet. But I assume like a desert-based planet would work in Winx Club. So if Egypt was a planet, I think it could work as well. I think Vacuo would work if it was a desert planet as well. You know, um, like if it, we haven't like yet learned about what Vacuo is like, so I assume like it would work. So yeah, I don't have much to say about Vacuo, but yeah, I think it would work. Maybe there's sandstorms and like maybe it would be a hot place. I wonder if it will be just as like destructive as another planet, like maybe near Pyros from Winx Club, like the island of dragons, but like where Bloom went. Um, so I can see Vacuum being like a harsh place to live. Um, so yeah, I think Vacuum would work. Now, I think Menagerie as a planet will be very interesting. I think if Menagerie was a planet, it would be dedicated to like a planet for faunuses, and I think it would really work as a planet in Magic Universe. And I think the concept of like faunuses would be very interesting in Winx Club because there are other like um, fantasy creatures. And I think, like, we have elves, we have witches, we have fairies, we have humans, we have leprechauns, zombies, mermaids. I think Andros is like a good example for this, like um, a planet for like mermaids, and I think we get to explore like different like races of like species of like magical beings, and I think that's very interesting for like Winx Club, and I think a Faunus kind of character would work for like um in Winx Club. I think I think Faunus, the fact that there's like a touch on like racism in RWBY, like about being a faunus. I can imagine it being for like different type of like mythical creature. Like what if you're a mermaid and you feel like discriminated because you're in the ocean or something. Um, so yeah, I think it's very interesting to have like a racism plotline in Winx Club because I can imagine like it's like there will be discrimination like for like being a particular like uh, a magical being. So yeah, um, and uh, I think Faunus would be interesting, and I think Menagerie the location is pretty interesting because there are like it's like an island, isn't it? There's water nearby, so I can imagine it being similar to Andros in like if it was a planet, but that's just the idea. I think if Menagerie was a planet, it would be planet of Faunus. Like how like you know that will be the main theme for like Menagerie. So that's my thoughts on like what like if the Ruby planet was like if the universe was in like Winx universe. I imagine like wherever Salem lives, it would be similar to how um, you know, um, like other dark places in Winx like Obsidian, Oblivion, Dark Dimension, Limbo, Omega Dimension. So I imagine like where the hell wherever the place Salem lives, or like that dark dimension or whatever. I could see it being similar to that, and I also see like maybe the moon would be its own planet as well because it's broken. Maybe there's a civilians over there. I mean we do see in like um, season 8 of Winx Club where like we see other planets that you know that kind of have aliens. Um, so I think yeah. Um, so that's my thought for like the main like world building of RWBY. Now we've done talking about the world building. I want to talk about how the characters would be like in each, universe. Like how would our Ruby character work in our Winslow universe, and our Winslow character work in our Ruby universe. So, I'm gonna talk about that. So, like, for a Ruby character to work for our Winx universe, I think they, I think they're gonna be fairies. Apparently, only female characters get to be fairies. I wish Winx Club, explored more male fairies, because I would have loved like male characters being fairies, but whatever. Uh, the fact that there are female fairies makes me think like how a Ruby character might work for like this sort of thing. So I'm gonna focus on like the main girls, including Ruby, Weiss, Yang, Blake, um, Pyrrha, Nora, and Penny. I'm gonna talk about them. So yeah, if they were fairies, what would they be like? So you know how like in Winx Club like there's fairy of something um like Bloom is the fairy of the Dragonfire, Misa the fairy of music, Flora the fairy of nature. So I was wondering how the like Ruby characters would be if they were like fairy of something like yeah, that's what I'm gonna like bring my idea. What if Ruby were like a fair? If Team Ruby, what characters? If they were fairies, what would they be? I'm gonna focus on like the main girls. Yeah. So I think Ruby, she would be fairy of eyes. I think that would be very unique because her power is silver eyes. I don't want her to be fairy of super speed. I think that would be a dumb idea. Like a fairy of super speed is so impressive. I think yeah, whatever. But I think a fairy of like eyes would be very interesting and creepy. I would love that for her. I think also like it would be very interesting. Like she had like Super Saiyan powers. Like when she's like you know with her like sort of eyes, she goes chaotic. Kind of how like Bloom sometimes gets chaotic with her powers. I think it would be very interesting if she like manipulated like that sort of thing, or if she like manipulated light with her eyes. That would be very very uh, interesting as a power like in the Wings Club universe, and I can totally see that for her. So Ruby will be the fairy of eyes or silver eyes. Maybe like if she was still a fairy, like maybe she would have other abilities associated with eyes. Maybe she could see it from a distance, or like or see people's eyes or something. I think yeah, I think that would be a very neat idea if she was a fairy. So yeah, Ruby, fairy of eyes. So now onto Weiss. What if Weiss was a fairy? What would she the fairy? Well, what sort of fairy would she be? Like if Weiss was a fairy, I think she would be fairy of ice. I think it would be very interesting because she does a lot of cool stuff. She's from Atlas. She wears the cold colors like blue and white and grays. So I think her being fairy of ice would be neat for her, and also like her powers tend to be like ice seem like when she's summoning or like she's you know her dust powers, her glyphs like um it tends to be like a snowflake, and her Shneem symbol is kind of like a snowflake. So uh, Weiss would be everything to do associated with like ice, snow, winter. Like I think she would be very interesting as a fairy. So her being the fairy of ice would be very interesting. Um, I wonder if if she was the fairy of ice, she would maybe have like a rivalry with Icy, who is a witch of ice, and I think that would be very interesting, like for a character's perspective. If if Weiss was like in a Winx Club universe, I think maybe like Weiss and Icy would have the rivalry, being like the power is ice. I think it would be very interesting for Weiss. Um, there are other like fairies of ice in Winx Club universe. Like in season 4, there's Aurora, who is also fairy of ice, and she's kind of the North fairy, the Arctic fairy. So I think maybe Aurora and Weiss would have like interactions. So I would think um, Weiss would be very interesting, and I think it would be like a common power to have, um, and it would be fun because like with the main girls of Winx Club, like they have like certain elements, and ice is a pretty like fun element for me. You know, it's a cool element. You can freeze people and stuff. Like yeah, I can see like Weiss like going beyond her like ice powers. Do you want like Elsa does, from Frozen? Yeah. So if Weiss was a fairy, she would be the fairy of ice. Now, if Blake was a fairy, what sort of fairy would she be? I've had have some ideas of what she might be. Um, you know what? Her semblance is cloning. Maybe she would be like fairy of like cloning, or maybe she could have like illusion powers, like how Darcy does. Darcy on Nebby, how they like have clothes of themselves and have that sort of power. But I think that would be interesting if she had that ability as a fairy. Um, I also think she could, because her fondness is a cat. Maybe she could have like power of cats. Maybe she could, like shape shift into a cat. You know how like Whiskers does or Demon does. So I think, um, you know, uh, I think Blake will be very interesting as a, as a fairy. Also, like she also have like nocturnal powers. Like, I know this is a fauna trait, but this could be just a Blake thing. You know, I feel like not every character needs to have the same ability. Uh, I think Blake being unique to this sort of power would be very interesting. Like, maybe it's just her special thing. Like, she could only see in the dark. Maybe she has night vision. That would be very interesting. And maybe she has like maybe like her sort of power would be like purpley color because she does have that's kind of like her aura color. So maybe when she emits some energy, it would be like a purple color. Um, so I can imagine like her being the fairy of cats. That would be very cute and funny. Um, and I think yeah, Blake will be the fairy of cats. So like if Yang was a fairy, I think she would be the fairy of like explosion. So I can see that for her, as the fairy of explosions, or fire. Like that's kind of her semblance. Like she goes Super Saiyan with when she gets hit, and kind of goes um, berserks. Kind of like how that Go Ball Z guy, he gets explosive. So I can see that for her, and I also can see her like being in compared to Bloom as well. Like she also goes explosive, like when she's like, at her emotional state. Like in like in season 4 when she used her supernova. Bloom. Um, I think that could be an example of like how uh, you know um, Yang could have her powers. So I think Yang as a fairy would be very exciting for her. So Yang would be the fairy of explosions. I think she would be very interesting as a fairy. She would be the fairy of magnetism or polarity, because that's her semblance. She can like control magnetic poles. That would be very interesting. I don't think there's a Wing Club character that has the power of like magnetism. Um, but I think it's Techno would like have that ability because she kind of has that power of technology. So like I can see Techno having that power, but I don't think she has that power. So a fairy of magnetism would be very unique, and I think magnetism as a power isn't very like explored in like media in general. I think the most magnetic powers I can imagine is like um, a Ben 10 alien character named Lone Star, who's in like Ben 10 Alien Force, I think, on um, Ben 10, Ultimate Alien. So I think a magnetic power would be very interesting. As like a fairy. So I think a Pyrrha would be very powerful and unique. Um, so yeah, Pyrrha will be the fairy of magnetism. I think Nora as a fairy will be very exciting for me. I think she will be the fairy of electricity, and I think it would be very fun with her. I think she would. I think as a fairy, she would like enjoy it. Um, I think um, her powers like electricity, isn't it? As semblance. I think she could just go off with it. And her color is like a pink lightning, so I can imagine like her comparing to other like um, Winx characters that have electricity powers, because we do have like um, characters that have like electric powers. Um, that being Techna, Stormy, and then Nebula. Um, I think Stormy and Nora would be very like interesting as like rivalry, because Stormy also has pink lightning. So I think um, Stormy and Nora as a rivalry would be very interesting. Now I'm now I'm imagining like um, Weiss, Blake, and Nora being versus with Icy, Darcy, and Stormy, and I could imagine them like battling it out, because they're so like similar in their powers. Like, um, like Weiss has ice. Blake, can clone herself, and um, you know, Nora she has pink lightning. So I truly think this will be a very fun battle between uh, our characters. So yeah, it will be very fun. So Nora would be the fairy of lightning. I wonder if she would have like Pikachu powers, because Pikachu is electricity. So that's my thought. So yeah, Nora, fairy of electricity. Now Penny as a robot, I mean as a fairy would be very interesting. Um, I think it would be something about a fairy being a different species would be very interesting. First, we have like Blake being a faunus fairy. That is interesting as itself because like there would be different breed of like different types of fairies because there are like other fairies. Like is Sibylla her her underlings are tend to have like furry like um like legs and stuff. So there are interesting sort of fairies like Arcadia. She's kind of an interesting fairy as well. There's major fairies like ethereal fairies like that who give them gifts in season 4. So it's interesting like what sort of fairies are there. And Penny as a fairy would be very interesting because she will be like a robot fairy or an AI type fairy. So I think Penny as a fairy would be very unique. I think she would add a lot to the like uniqueness to the fairy lore. I think she would be the fairy of robots, and I think that would be very interesting for her because she is a robot, and AI. But of course, she is treated as similar to any other fairy. Like, um, at the same time, I think she would be very interesting as a fairy. Like, um, because how diverse the Winx universe is with their species. Like there may be like subtypes of fairies as well. Like forest, like forest fairies, elf fairies, mermaid fairies. So I can't imagine like you know if there may be like a cross link of different species. So a robot fairy would be very interesting. And I think Penny would be very interesting to like Techna and all the people from Zenith. Because I think Zenith is so. I can imagine like Penny being a fairy from Zenith, and them having like fairies that are like robots, or maybe like they have been created. That would be very interesting to you know um to have um, as characters. So I think, yeah, I would appreciate Penny as a character from like Winx Club, and I think um, Techna and Penny they would get along very well. I think I would make that happen. That would be very rewarding to have. Um, yeah, I think she would be a very special character to add. Yeah. So, Penny, the fairy of robot, definitely gonna happen. I wish Wisdom did have male fairies, otherwise I would have had like John, Oscar, and Ren being fairies. That would be very interesting, but that's pretty unfortunate. Like, we don't have like active characters being fairies. Um, Background fairies don't count. We need male. Wisdom, we need male fairies. Okay, we don't, and also female specialists too, and maybe male witches. I would have appreciated it. So I can imagine like John, Oscar, and Ren as specialists. That would be very interesting. I can imagine like John using his sword as his main weapon. I think he would be a good parallel with Sky. I think they have things in similar, like they're blonde, they're blue. They're not really my favorite characters of either versions, but But I can imagine them getting along and using their like sword-based power, like weaponry. I think John and Sky would get along very well. Um, I can imagine Oscar using like I think he would get along with Brandon because like he's like the twin version of Brandon because like his dark hair um, and tan skin. I think yeah, but I think his the fact that he uses wand or staff, I think you could parallel with Naboo because know he uses his stuff as well as like uh, um, weaponry. So I think Oscar would get along with those two. Um, um, and then Ren, he kind of has his like um, strings or whatever. I don't know what they call. I'm not too familiar with weaponry, but I think yeah, his it will be similar to Helia, and I think Helia and Ren would get along very well because they're both like Asian inspired characters, and um, you know, they're kind of like the peacemakers or the quiet guys. So I think Helia and Ren would get along very well. They also have the same color palette, like they have dark hair, like yeah. Um, and I think if they were fairies, um, John would be the fairy of healing. Oscar would be the fairy of magic, and I think Ren will be the fairy of emotions. But that's just my idea for like if they were fairies. What would your idea be for the other characters? Because there are other characters from RWBY that I haven't mentioned. Um, Let me know in the comments. Like, what do you think they would be like as fairies? Share in the comments. Have fun. So that's my idea for what Winx Club and RWBY crossover would be like. Um, I had really fun doing this. Um, so I started doing this since 9 a.m. and right now it's 1 p.m. So you better like and subscribe. Uh, I had fun. I hope you had fun watching this. And you get to come up with your own ideas as well. And again, you know, what ideas do you think, like, what if another show was crossed over with these shows? Like, what if Winx Club had a crossover with Avatar, or what if RWBY had a crossover with Sonic the Hedgehog? Um, share it with it's fun seeing like fandoms, doing this. I think it's really great way to help the community, feel connected to each other, and it's fun. Um, Everyone can get along and have fun with their creativity, imagination. Like, it's truly astonishing what our minds can do with this, with the media we have. Yeah, feel free to share. Um, this video took a very long time to make again. Yeah, again, I did this since 9 a.m. So yeah, um, like, share, and subscribe, and have a lovely day.